Okay, does anybody know what time of year this is for the Jewish people? No? Does anybody know what time it is for the Jewish people this time of the year? What's it? Say it loud.
Purim.
Purim. Okay, and Purim is a very, very happy time where the Jewish people, they remember that they went through a very, very bad time, but God helped them. Okay? Have you ever been through a very, very bad time? No, not yet. Not yet. Okay. Now we're going to tell the story, so I'm going to need your help. So I'm going to need some volunteers. Okay? So we'll pick some volunteers in just a minute. But let's start right at the beginning. Do you remember when Israel was in a land called Egypt? Okay, and what did God do for Israel? You're going to say it loud.
Gave them a promised land.
Say it louder.
Gave them the promised land.
While they were in Egypt. So what did they have to do?
They had to walk through the desert.
Loud.
They had to walk
No, louder.
They had to walk through the desert.
Okay, because we've got to capture you on the camera. Okay, they had to walk through the wilderness. They came out, and there was a king, and he was over a group of people called the Amalekites. Can you say that? Can you say that again? No, louder. I can't hear you. What's that? Go fly your kite. No, Amalekites. And the Amalekites, they came out to fight the Jews, and they wanted to kill the Jews. And so God says, I'm not having any of that. And God made a promise that he was going to make war against this people that were going to try and kill all of Israel. Would you like to kill all of Israel? No. But you know there are people that want to do that. Even today, they want the Jewish people to die. They want the Jewish people to go away somewhere. But if you fight against God's people, who are you fighting with? Okay, so here's the thing. Amalekites, they always hated God's people. So God says, I will keep fighting them. And then one day, many years later, there's a king of Israel, the first king of Israel. The first king. What's his name? Jesus is the first and foremost king of Israel. He's like number one. But Jesus came to earth much later. He was the king in heaven, but there was a king of Israel on earth, and his name begins with Saul. Saul. And he was from a tribe called Benjamin. And I hear there's someone called Benjamin here. Who's called Benjamin? Where's Benji? Benjamin. Son of my right hand. Okay, son of the right hand. Andrew's brother. So, yes, and Andrew's very excited that he's got a brother called Benjamin right now. Because Benjamin, they were one of the people of Israel. And Benjamin, he had a son who had a son who had a son who had a son, and one of the sons was called Kish. And Kish's son was called Saul. And God said to Saul, now I'm going to punish Amalekites. Now, if you kill someone or if you steal something, what's going to happen to you? And you might go to jail, especially if you killed someone. And if you're found guilty, you can't just do whatever you want, right? The same way, you can't just do what you want with God's people as well. So God, he waits. He doesn't just hit people like this. He waits a long time until they are full of their sin. And then God judges them. And he said to Saul, you are going to be my instrument to judge Amalek. And you must not take anything that belongs to them. You mustn't do anything for them. You mustn't take their shoes. You mustn't take their trendy t-shirts. You mustn't take their nice fluffy dogs. Take nothing. Okay? You must just bring judgment on those people. And Saul didn't do that. He got rid of all the people, but he kept the king called, and his name was called Agag. Can you say the word Agag? Louder? Agag. Even louder? Agag. Okay, you need to practice because you're going to have to shout soon, okay? So Agag was kept alive. And God says, what are you doing? He says, no, I obeyed you. And the problem was that by doing that, Saul set up a problem for the future. And so what we come to is a time of a person called Esther. In your Bible, there's a book called Esther. And we're going to tell the story of Esther. Now, in a place called Susa, there was a king who was attached to a man. Okay, there was a king called Ahasuerus. Achashverosh. Or you can say Xerxes if you like. Well, some people think he's called Xerxes. So I need someone to be a king. Oh, hands straight up. So you're going to sit on your throne. Okay, and the king said, I'm going to have a long, long, big party.
I'm going to have a long, long, big party.
Okay, so everybody's happy, everybody's excited. Now, in his kingdom, there was a man called Mordecai. Can you say Mordecai? Mordecai. And I've got to make sure I get the wrong guy, the right guy. Okay, there he is. He's an older guy. Okay, so I need an older guy. Okay, David. Okay, can you do the old man? Can you? All right, where's your stick? Okay. Well, you should have brought your stick with you. Now, Mordecai was a Jew, and his ancestor was called Kish. Whose father was called Kish? Okay, good memory. So Mordecai was a Jew, and Mordecai had a niece. His brother had a daughter called Esther, and I need someone who's going to be a beautiful, beautiful princess. I don't know who to choose, because you're all beautiful princesses. Yeah, I've dug a big hole. I need someone to pick a princess. Choose a boy to be a princess. We could cause confusion. We don't want to do that. I'm going to pick, wait, I'm just going to go like this. And oh, it's Bethany. Just because I spun. So, Esther, come and stand with your uncle. But her parents died. Her parents died. Oh. And so her uncle, Mordecai, he takes her and he's like a father to his niece. But there was also a very, very, very bad guy. Bad guy. Evil, wicked, evil guy called Haman. And whenever you know the story, do you know what we do when we hear the name Haman? What thing? What thing do you do? You swing this thing, and what does that thing do? It makes a noise to cover the name. So when we hear the name Haman, we're going to have to go, boo, like this. Can you do that? So if I say the name Haman, oh guys, come on. I can see you're not Jews. Because and by the way, if you are of a Jewish background, our tables are not strong enough for you to beat on them. Because you have to beat on the tables and you have to make a noise. So if we say the name Haman, oh gosh, this is pathetic. Come on, guys. Haman. Okay. I need someone to be, hey, man. You're going to be it. Aiden. Look at that. Look at his face. Look at this mouth. Yes. Okay. Hey, man. Okay. Hey, man. Hey. Okay. Okay, so this king has a party. And when we hear the name Mordecai or Esther, just go, yay. And when we hear the name Haman, boo. But Esther, Mordecai? Okay. Now, this king, he wants one of his queens to come and dance for everybody. So you're going to call for Vashti, the queen. Come dance for us here. Okay, and Vashti says, I'm not coming. So we got a problem here because this king says, if all the women copy Vashti, who's going to make our supper? No, because she's a woman. She's going to copy Vashti. And Vashti doesn't want to do what you tell her to do. So who's going to make your supper? He's not a woman. So you've got to get rid of your wife. You're going to bye-bye. And you're going to find another woman to be your wife in her place. So you're going to have a beauty contest to see all the pretty women to pick one. Okay. So then I'm just going to get you to do this. Just walk past the king and say, hello. Can you do that? The girls. No. Okay, can I have one to do it? You go, walk past the king, go, hello, and then you, not you. Okay, then I'm gonna go past and go, hello. And he's saying, that woman's got too much hair. But then when he saw Esther, it was different. See, Esther spoke with her uncle Mordecai, and Mordecai said to Esther, don't tell anybody you are a Jew. Okay?
Don't tell anybody you are a Jew.
Okay, Mordecai. Okay, and then you go past the king. I tell her to stop. Stop. You're the queen. She's the queen. Okay. And so now she's the queen. But the queen doesn't stay with the king. The queen stays in her own place. And she can only come to the king when the king tells her to come. What kind of marriage is that? So Esther's going to stay here. You can sit down, Esther. Now, if she comes and sees the king, and he hasn't asked her, the king has to do something. He has to get his golden stick. Which one?
Kill her.
No, hopefully not. Because if he puts out his golden stick, his staff, his rod, his scepter, and she comes to it and she touches the top of it, then she can live. But if he doesn't do that, she is killed. Okay. Now, there was a man called Haman. And the king wanted Haman, he was from a man, his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granddad was called Agag. Boo. And this king says, oh, you are so wonderful. Louder.
Oh, you are so wonderful.
I want you to be the number one person working for me.
I want you to be the number one person working for me.
So Haman, he felt so good about himself. And so Haman would walk down the street. And everybody would be like, Oh, Haman. Oh, you're so wonderful. But when Mordecai was there, and Mordecai didn't go down like this. No, he didn't. Haman, how did Haman feel? Haman feel. How did Haman feel? Angry. Show me your angry face. It's just angry all the time, isn't it? And he makes an angry noise like, "Arr!" No, you can do better than that. Oh, that's better. Okay. So he goes home. And he says to his family, "Oh, I'm so happy the king's made me number one. But there's a man called Mordecai. And I hate him." Can you say that?
I hate him.
Because he doesn't bow down to me. And so what what Haman said is, "I'm going to make a law. And I'm going to ask the king to kill not just Mordecai, but all the Jews in the world." And so he goes up to the king. And he says, "There's a strange people in our land." Can you say that?
These strange people in our land.
Wow. Do you always know you're such a good actor? Oh, you do. And they don't follow our ways.
They don't follow our ways.
And they will cause trouble to us. And so we need to kill them. And the king says, "Okay, let's make a law. Make a law. And we're going to allow people to kill the Jews on a certain day." Now, if you're a Jew, how do you feel? You don't know? Do you think you'd be happy? Yes. You think you'd be sad? Okay. So Mordecai, he feels so sad, he tears his clothes. And he takes, you don't want to tear your clothes.
Pardon?
You don't want to tear your clothes.
No.
You're going to get into trouble from your parents. Okay, so we'll let you have your clothes. So he takes off his nice clothes and he puts on clothes that are itchy and scratchy. And he is putting ashes on his head. Because he's so sad. Because all his people are going to die. And so Mordecai, he comes to the queen. Now, wait, there's something I forgot. Before this time, there were two men after she became queen. Two men who were skinnering behind closed doors. So I need two guys. Okay, and who else? Okay, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to say. Let's kill the king. Let's kill the king.
Let's kill the king.
And you go, yeah. Okay, Mordecai hears this. Mordecai hears this, and he runs to Esther to tell her. Go on.
They want to kill the king.
Tell it to tell the king.
You must tell the king.
So go and tell the king.
Hello, King. Some people want to kill you.
Mordecai told me. Okay, so now, what are you going to do to these two men?
Kill them.
Okay, so what happened now is you tell this man to write this in a book.
Write this in a book.
Okay, so you got to write Mordecai saved the king's life. Okay, there you can go back to your grave. Okay, so now Mordecai goes to Esther now that this king has said all the Jews can die, and he speaks to Esther and he says, you need to speak to the king.
You need to speak to the king.
Now what happens if you speak to the king and he hasn't asked you? What does he need to do to you? He needs to put out his golden scepter. If he doesn't do that, what's going to happen to you? Okay, so you're going to die. Now, what's he telling you to do? And he's not asked you to come. So if you speak to the king and he doesn't do this, what's going to happen to you? Are you scared? You're scared, but he's saying you need to speak to the king to save the Jewish people. And he says, if you don't do it, God's going to save Israel through someone else, but you and your family are going to be nothing. And so you ask everybody, ask all the people to not eat food for 3 days and to pray.
Don't eat food for 3 days and pray.
And then you will speak to the king. Okay? So you go to speak to the king. Wait. You can't just do that. He's going to kill you. Just tiptoe and just wave and hope he doesn't kill you. So what? No, stop. Don't get too close. He might kill you. What are you going to do? But look at her. How can you kill a face like that? Look at those big lips there. Look at that crown. Look at that black hair. How can you do that? So what are you going to do to save her? What do you have to do? Get your golden scepter and put it out there. And then there we go. And then you ask her, what does she want? You say, I want to make a big meal for you and Haman to come.
I want to make a big meal for you and Haman to come.
You. Okay, you hungry? Okay, so go on, tell her. Tell her we'll come. Okay, excellent. So he's going to come, right. So you go and prepare the food. Go and prepare the food. Now, Haman, Esther, this queen, yes, Haman. Esther, the queen, is not just asking for the king to come, but she wants you to be at the meal. What do you think about that? Yeah, because you are the so cool number one, I'm the best, okay? So you go home and tell your family about how Esther only wants you and the king there. But you're still seeing Mordecai and it makes you angry. All right, so what we're going to do is your wife is going to say to you, and she says to you, why don't you make a wooden thing to hang Mordecai? And then in the morning, why don't you go and speak to the king and ask the king? Okay, does that sound like a good idea? Do you think the king will agree with you to get rid of Mordecai? Do you think so? No, Haman is so full of himself. He thinks he's so the best that he thinks, yes, the king will agree to anything I say because I'm the coolest, okay? Like that. Okay, so he goes and makes the big thing to hang him. So go and make it, stop making it. Okay, and then it's nighttime and everyone goes to sleep. Everybody's asleep. You're asleep, you're asleep, you're asleep. Let me see you're asleep. Well, that's the problem. The king can't sleep. He's trying, and he's trying, and he's trying, but he can't sleep. So he feels like he needs to read a book. So ask your servant to bring you that special book where everybody writes all the good things that happen down and all the bad things. So bring the book, and now tell him about Mordecai, what you wrote there.
Mordecai.
What did he do? What did Mordecai do about the two guys? Don't you remember?
No.
Were you paying attention?
Yes.
Okay. Mordecai saved his life from those two guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mordecai saved his life from those two guys.
Your life. And so you want to know if anybody did anything to thank Mordecai?
Thank
Louder.
Did anybody do anything to thank Mordecai?
No.
Okay. And as they're saying this, who's walking in? Mr. Sleepy Man has woken up. Were you building the base of it? Okay. Now, it's all finished now. So come to the king, and you're coming to ask him to kill Mordecai. And the king says, whoa, I'm glad you've come. Amen. The king asks a question. I've got to ask a question. There is someone who the king loves him very much. And the king wants to do this person who is amazing a special thing. But what special thing do you think the king should do for him? No? No, you're asking him that question.
Shower him with riches.
Shower him with riches. He says, I think, because what are you thinking? What are you thinking?
I'm
Yes, that's exactly what Haman's thinking. Haman's thinking, I'm the special person. Oh, you can see it all over his face. And Haman says, he must be speaking about me. So he says, King, I think you should put your royal robe on him. I think you must put him on your special horse. And I think you must give him one of your most noble, brilliant people who work for you to lead him around the street and to say to everybody, look, this is what the king does to those who he honors. So the king says, hey man, you are one of those special nobles who works for me. Nobles. So I want you to put a royal robe on Mordecai. Now, what is Haman thinking? Bad things. You know, I'll tell you what he's thinking. He's thinking, how is the king honoring Mordecai and not me? And you're the one that has to put the royal robe, put him on the horse, and lead him around, and go and lead him around the town and tell, this is what the king does to those who he honors. Can you say that?
This is what the king does to those he honors.
And everyone's shouting, yay! Yay! And Haman, how is he feeling right now? He's sad and he's angry. Show me your angry face. But he can't show everybody he's angry, so he's leading Mordecai around like this. Everybody, this is what the king does to those he honors. I'm not so happy. But he's really angry. And so he runs home. Haman runs home and he's so upset. And he says to the people, look what happened. And his family says this, oh, Haman, you are fighting with a Jew. And because you're fighting with the Jews, you are going to fail. Yay! Okay. But while he's speaking, the servant comes and says, you need to come back to the second feast.
You need to come back to the second feast.
Because what I left out is they had a feast, they had the meal, and the king asked Esther, what do you want, Esther? And she says, I just ask one more thing. Can you come for another feast, and then I'll tell you what I want. So now this has happened. Back, and Esther comes and gives the food out. And now, food for everybody. Right. Now here, you're going to ask her, now Esther, tell me what you want.
Tell me what you want.
And now, tell him, I want to stay alive, and I want my people to stay alive.
I want to stay alive, and I want my people to stay alive too.
Okay. Wait. Now, do you understand what she's saying? What does she want to do? And she wants to stay alive. So what? You're confused. Who's trying to do this to you? Go and ask her. Okay. What are you going to say? Who's hiding? Who's trying to kill your people? Haman! He's trying to kill my people. He put in the law. He is the one. Now the king, what are you feeling now? He's trying to kill your queen. You're angry, and you're so angry you walk out of the room. Now, you ask, go and sit down. No, you sit down there. And how are you feeling now? The king is angry. What's he going to do to you? You're scared. So go round this way, grab her hand and say, please, 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 please. No, kneel on your knee. Now, king, walk in and see what he's doing. No, keep going, keep going. What is he doing? What is he doing? He's attacking your wife. How are you feeling? He's attacking your wife. How are you feeling? You're mad. Go and show him. Okay. And then the servant comes in. Tell him about the gallows that he's going to hang Mordecai. With the big hanging stuff. So what are we going to do to him? He's told you that he's going to hang Mordecai. So you're going to hang him. Bye-bye. And then, okay. And so now Mordecai is gone. Can we give him a clap? Okay, so you sit on your throne. No, Haman's gone. But we can't say his name. Okay. So Haman's gone. So now ask Esther, what are we going to do? So now what we're going to do is, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to, because that law that you did, we can't change that. So we're going to, because that's the rules in this country, is anytime you make a law, nothing can change it. So we're going to put a new law in. And the new law in is on that day, all the Jewish people can attack the people that are attacking them and protect their lives. And then what we do as well is we're going to take Haman's 10 sons. And we're going to put you on the same one. Okay. And we're going to see that Israel is saved from from people trying to kill them. Okay? And many people wanted to become Jews after that because they were so worried that, the Jews might touch us. So we'll become a Jew. We're one of you guys. Okay? Yay! Okay. So thank you, guys. Your facial expressions were amazing. And we've got to thank Lorna for these masks. They were very, very well made. Okay. So let's look at this. Okay. Where did it start? Where did all this thing start? It started before Haman. Which people? It started before that. Amalek. Yeah. And the king of Amalek at the time of Saul was called Agag. And Agag, Saul was supposed to deal with the Amalekites. And did he? No, he let the king Agag live. And so Agag had children who had children who had children who had children who had children. And one of those children was called Haman. And Saul, the son of Kish, didn't deal with Agag. So one of Kish's sons was called Shimei, and he had sons and sons and sons until there was a guy called Mordecai. And Mordecai had to deal with Haman, the descendant, the one who came from Agag, that king. You know what it teaches me? It teaches me that if I don't deal with a problem at the beginning, that problem will get worse. There's a verse in the New Testament in Hebrews, and it says, and I'll try and read it in a simple way, but it says here in Hebrews chapter 12, and then it says in verse 15, okay? Be careful that you don't get a root of bitterness popping out of the ground and causing trouble for everybody. A root of bitterness for the adults, that's in Deuteronomy 29, I think it's verse 15. That root of bitterness is what we call idolatry. You know what idolatry is? It's where you put something in God's place. Something is more important than God. And it becomes like a root. Where do you find a root? In the ground. Can you see the roots? Sometimes they're a bit at the top of them. But the rest of the root, can you see it? Where is it? It's under the ground. It's hidden. But if that root is growing, what's going to happen to it? It's going to get bigger, and then it's going to pop out of the ground, and then it's going to grow into something bigger, maybe like a tree. You know, yesterday, all the adults, not all the adults, a lot of adult men came here, and there was someone who worked for Matthew called, who's the guy that works for your daddy? Johannes. Johannes came, and I saw Johannes spraying a weed killer on the weeds. But we were wanting to pull up the plants. And your daddy said, no, don't pull the plants up. Why? No, because the poison has to go on the leaves. Why does the poison have to go on the leaves? Yeah, but how does it kill them? It goes down to the root. We need to kill that weed, that bad plant, at its root. Otherwise, it's just going to grow and grow and grow. Yes? You pulled it out, but did it grow back again? Yeah, because we need to kill it at the root. At the root. So here's the thing. Haman, his root was called Agag. Boo. And because the problem wasn't dealt with there, it comes back. And the problem is threatening to kill every Jew. So the thing we learn is there are roots in our hearts. So if there's something that you think is more important than God, you've got to deal with that. Otherwise, it will take over. Okay? You'll understand this when you're a bit older. You'll start to see there are things that are really nice and really beautiful and pretty. But sometimes we think it's more pretty than God. And that's a problem. So that's the first thing we learn. The second thing we learn is in this book, Esther. So at home, maybe you can, yes, Esther. Maybe at home you can ask your parents to read you, if you've got a children's Bible, read you the book of Esther, the story of Esther. You have a Bible, so get your parents to read it with you. But when you go through Esther, there's something we see. God's name is not in that book, not once. Did you know that? God is not mentioned once in the book of Esther. And yeah, that's a good question. Why? You should ask those questions. It's a good question. Why is God's name not in the book of Esther? Okay. But do you see that God's in the book of Esther? Can you see God in the book of Esther? But how can you see him? Because who protected the Jews? In Mordecai's heart. He was with Mordecai's mind, because Mordecai was thinking about God. But here's the thing. You see it because Haman, when he tried to build that thing, the king couldn't sleep. And then the king learned about Mordecai. And then Mordecai has to be honored, and it goes wrong for him. And then he comes to the feast, the meal. And then Esther points out, Haman's trying to kill me, and it all goes wrong. Yes. No. Oh, yes. It goes wrong. Because, here's the thing. Even though people don't see God, and they don't talk about God, and then sometimes you might not even think about God, but God is still working in your lives.
Yay!
Now, does that mean, oh, let's not think about God anymore because God is just in our life? No, we think about God. What did Mordecai and Esther do when they heard everybody was going to kill them? They prayed and they went without food for 3 days. So they were thinking about God, but even if someone doesn't say God's name, does that mean that God isn't there? So you've got to know, even at times when it looks like God is not working, you've got to know God is working in your lives to do things in your lives because he cares for you and he cares for his people, Israel. If God is going to judge Israel, who does God use to judge Israel? Does he use good guys? Noble. Kabo. No. He uses bad guys. He never uses good guys to judge Israel. He always uses bad people to judge Israel. So do you want God to use you to judge Israel? No. Because once God is finished with judging Israel, then who's he going to judge next? You. Leave that to the bad people. I want to be on the Jews' side, and I want to be on God's side. Yay. Okay. One last thing. And this is what I'm saying. And this is, if you learn this now and you put this in your heart now, the Bible is going to be an amazing book to you. And if this goes in your heart, when you watch the news, and there'll be things on the news when you get a bit older, you'll see why things are happening in the world the way they're happening. But this is what God says about Israel. The only way to destroy the Jewish people is if you manage to go up to the sun and sprayed it with something to kill the sun. And if you had to go and put dynamite in the moon and blow it up, and then you have to go to every single star in the heavens and put something over it to stop it shining, then you can destroy the Jew. Can you kill the sun? Can you get rid of the moon? Can you get rid of every single star? So can you get rid of all the Jewish people? No, the Jews are forever. They are forever. Because God said so their great granddad, Abraham. He said to them, through your children, through your nation, through your descendants, I'm going to bless everybody, all nations, Jews, or Zulus, Afrikaans, Xhosa, Sotho. I'm going to bless them all through Israel. Because through Israel, who came to this earth to die for our sin? Jesus. He came out of Israel. So the Jew is forever. And no one will be able to destroy the Jewish nation. They will try. They will try. There are people that want to see all the Jews killed. And one day there's going to be people who are going to try and kill all the Jews. But God will save them because God always saves the Jewish people. Always. Yay!